you.
Hello everyone. Happy Women's Day to all the colleges here for the webinar. This webinar is on all about first steps to become unstoppable. So in this webinar, I hope you'll be getting a lot of insights on different aspects of how to shape your career and what are the first steps that you in order to shape your career for path to success. Also, you'll be getting questions answered from a good speakers who are successful in their career from like Ms. Bhargavi Sunkara, who is the head of corporate tech, BNY Mellon, and also Ms. Pavitra Mutya, who is an IRS officer and who is an alumni of IIM Bangalore, are here for the webinar. I would like to introduce firstly Pavitra Mutya over here. Hi, just.
Hi, Manaswini.
Hi, Pavitra. This is Anuradha.
Hello, Anuradha. Good evening.
So Pavitra Mutya is an IRS officer of the 2022 batch and is currently posted as an Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax undergoing training at National Academy of Direct Taxes, Nagpur. She was born and brought up in Hyderabad and did her schooling at the Hyderabad Public School. She holds a graduation degree in Computer Science Engineering from IIT Hyderabad and post-graduation degree in Management from IIM Bangalore. She worked at Capgemini as a program manager for 3 years before joining the Indian Revenue Service. So I would like to welcome Pavitra Mutyap and give her insights regarding how she shaped her career and how she became successful.
Thank you so much, Manaswini, and thank you, Rajkumar, for having me here. It's a great opportunity for me to interact with young students trying to shape their career. I'm here to talk a little bit about my journey, how it has been. So Manaswini, can you tell me how long I have so that I know about, if you can confirm the time. So
20 minutes, Pavitra.
all right, sure. Yeah, I will talk a little bit about my journey. Firstly, thank you, Manaswini, for giving that introduction and overview that more or less covers what my journey has been so far in my career. So I'll add a little bit more. So currently I am working as Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax. I'm undergoing training at NADT Nagpur. I have had a brief stint in the corporate career, in the corporate sector before this, and before I chose to join the service. And what I'll talk about probably is share a few tips or a few learnings from my own journey, how it has been for me. So for me, one key thing about my career has been that I have made initially I studied engineering and then pursued management and then a corporate career, and then came into the Indian Revenue Service. So I've had varied experiences through this whole process. How did I choose this particular career? How did I make up my mind? Initially, as a kid, I always had this interest to join the civil services. But one thing that I thankfully realized when I was quite young is that this career option is not something that is very easy to crack. So I decided to have a mainstream backup option before I start pursuing this choice of mine, because given the uncertainty that is involved in this, I decided to have a proper mainstream graduation degree. So that's when this thought of joining, or attempting to join the IITs and have a proper mainstream engineering career came in. So the preparation for my engineering degree entrances. That started soon after my 10th grade itself. I was into, as we know, it's a very competitive process that we need to clear to enter these engineering colleges. Thankfully, I had cracked the IIT JEE exam and got into IIT Hyderabad. One key thing that I liked, or I would like to share with each one of you, is because most of you belong to that particular age, or that particular career stream right now. You're in your engineering. That is what Rajkumar told me, that most of the audience are those who are studying engineering, etc. So one thing that I learned as soon as I joined college was, firstly, gave me exposure to different subjects, different people, and at the same time, a lot of extracurricular activities. So that, I think, made a holistic learning process for me in college. And towards, I think, the around mid engineering time, I realized that I had an interest in management. So if you ask me, what was one thing that helped me in making this whole transition from engineering to management? One was, I was sure and clear that what I wanted to pursue. I knew that I wanted to get into a management career. And I think that actually helped me stick around in spite of the hurdles or the different struggles that come up when you're trying to prepare. Because sometimes if you are not very sure, or if you're uncertain about what career or what kind of choice you have, for instance, sometimes we see a tendency where you are in engineering and you're so unsure whether you want to do a master's in your own subject, you want to do a management post graduation. There is always that confusion, whether you take GRE or you take CAT, GMAT. So to address that kind of a dilemma, always think about what is your passion. Where would you like to see yourself, let's say, in 10 or 20 years down the line? That, I think, will give you the right pointers on where you want to go and how you should be shaping your career. These few years of your engineering are crucial because very rightly they lay the path for you for, let's say, 30 to 40 years of your career that comes ahead. So make the right choices and right decision. Think through whatever choices that you're trying to make, because whatever decision you take at this point will last with you. The consequences will last with you for some time. So give a well thought out decision. And so I knew that I wanted to do a management career, so I switched and started preparing for the CAT exam, which is an entrance for MBA. Where that was more or less my journey during engineering. But briefly, I'll probably talk about a few key things that are helpful to you. For instance, if Rajkumar in fact asked me what was one thing, or what is one step that you attribute your success to. I don't know if I'm successful. I mean, thank you for calling me so. But one thing that kept me going was whatever I was doing, I decided that I will be good at what I am doing. So I can give you an example. Maybe I cannot complain now, I should be very thankful that I could study at one of the IITs and all. But at that point, whenever you're young, at whichever stage you are, there will always be a point where you feel you've been deprived of something better. So this happened to me because I got into IIT Hyderabad in computer science engineering, but I did not get into IIT Madras. So my rank was not so good. So there's always this tendency, to regret that I could have done better. I could have studied a little bit more to clear the cutoff and get into that kind of a college. So trust me, this will be there throughout. Never give in to such kind of pressures or unnecessary thoughts, because it is not going to help you in any manner. Especially during your teenage years or early 20s, it is very draining, and it is very common, in fact, that we tend to compare ourselves to something that is much better. There's this new term that's called relative deprivation. You have the you have something very good, but you're looking at something better and feeling bad. So don't get into that sort of a tendency. Do not invest time on such thoughts. Always remember that whatever you have, try to be good at it. So when I joined IIT Hyderabad, that is what I thought. And in fact, something my mom told me, that be good and shine wherever you are. So with that spirit, I think I went to IIT Hyderabad, and it was a great experience. Another key thing that, I can attribute my the good part in my journey too is the fact that at IIT Hyderabad as well, I always invested a lot of time in multiple activities. That is, apart from my own academics, I was also into co-curricular activities. I was into the web development team, and part of the cultural team, and all these things I think help me build a holistic personality. The overall development of a person, I think it helped me in that sense. Being oriented only in one direction, let's say purely academics, is great, but it would be much better if you have a all-round development, and it gives you a lot of exposure. I mean, there are things which cannot be the intangible experiences that you get by being occupied into multiple activities. That is a great learning process. So if there is one advice that I can give you right now, when you're pursuing your engineering or in whatever stream you are in college, get your hand, try different things apart from academics. I mean, you can invest a little bit of time into non-academic activities, or rather the extracurricular activities, be it cultural, sports, or anything that you would like. That is another advice that I'd like to give you. And before I go further, I mean, at this point, are there any questions? Because I mean, it would be great if we can have an interactive session. So I'd just like to pause and check if there are any questions or if I should move forward.
So I have a question. So as you have mentioned that you asked the students to think about what you want, where do you want to see in 20 years. So did you visualize yourself being in the Indian services, in the government services, making an impact to larger area than a normal engineer or a management graduate would do? So did you visualize yourself at that position?
Yes, Anuradha ma'am, thank you so much for asking that question. A very trick one, I would say. To be honest, I was very keen on getting into a service at that point. But like I said, given the uncertainty involved, I got into a corporate career. But the struggle, I would say, struggle in a very different sense, and the mental struggle started after my career started. Because to be honest, my corporate career was also going very well. I had very little incentive, to be honest, to switch to the civil services. I was being paid well. I was comfortable in the job that I was doing. So in fact, there was a lot of this, if I can say, tendency to pull you back on why I was investing so many efforts to prepare for a very difficult examination in the civil services. So thankfully, this got cleared when I was working, I think, couple of years, 1.5 years into the corporate job. Though I was enjoying what I was doing, I realized that, let's say, around 20 years or 15 years down the line, I wouldn't want to be in the same sort of career, because I think being in a career in public service, the kind of impact you create is much more huge and a lot more meaningful. So I had a very long-term view that kind of helped me, make that choice and make the move that, yes, I need to invest time to prepare for this exam, because that is what I'm looking at, rather than the current career. In my graduation days, I certainly had this interest, but I was a little unsure of, what the outcome would be like. So I think this is the right time to emphasize one point that I wanted to drive through this talk, is that always have a backup option. Because at that point, had I taken decided to give the civil services exam, which I failed in the first attempt, I did not even clear the first stage of the examination. I think it would have added to a lot of pressure, and it would have impacted my own performance in the exam. But thankfully, because I already had a job, it was uh, it did not drain me much. For me, I was trying to strive to get to something better, but I knew that in case something doesn't work, I always have an option where I can fall back, and I wouldn't be left out with nothing as a career option. So I did have the idea, but I think the true shape came when a couple of years or 3-4 years later, when I started working, that I realized that yes, this is truly my career that I would like to be in, let's say 25 years or 30 years of my life. So yeah, that was the key moment, ma'am.
That's a great point, Pavitra, because students sometimes tend to make wrong choices. Sometimes they do not take an offer that they have already got. That's because they weigh their own value against the job that they have got, and usually reject those. They reject the first opportunity that they get. So that's a very important point to have. Grab the first one, take it as a backup, and move to the next step, whatever your dream is. Thank you for that point. So you can continue. I don't see questions, or let me check if there are. Yeah, you can.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah, please go on.
Ma'am, when you were, going through all this, like your struggles, your hardships, ma'am, what kept you motivated? What kept you, mentally motivated to keep on, to go on?
Yes, so this is a very interesting question because especially when I had multiple things, let's say after my MBA, when I was working and still preparing for this exam, it was a little challenging to cope up with the academic work, my office work, etc. So I think there's a combination of few things. I had this for the later part of my talk, but thank you for asking the question. I'll come up with it right away. So first thing is, always remember or keep in mind the goal that you have. What was the purpose why you started this journey? Let's say you are preparing for an exam to pursue your, you want to give the entrance exam for your master's. Why have you chosen to do it? There is a particular reason or a rationale why you wanted to do it. So always keep that in mind. That will be the driving force and the motivation for you whenever you wake up in the morning, open your book and read. That is one thing that should be driving you. And to tell you very honestly, because I've been through this journey myself, it is not as easy as I speak. I mean, if I tell you, yeah, be motivated and do it, it is not as simple. It is very challenging day in, day out. So I have a few generic tips that I'd like to give specifically, that can keep you motivated throughout. Number one, always have a very balanced approach or a balanced timetable in your preparation, no matter where you are and what you're doing. When I say balanced, I mean it should have all components of adequate emphasis on your academics, a little bit of fun, and always try to combine your difficult portions or subjects with something that is easier to do, because as a package it should be something that is doable. It should not seem something like a mountain which can't be crossed. So I always try to inculcate this balance in my timetable or in my preparation every day in my day-to-day process. Because in case you do not, let's say, you think you're very serious, you don't have time for yourself, you don't have adequate fun, it leads to, it could be probably good enough for a few weeks or a few months, but trust me, after a certain point there is burnout. So, and that is not sustainable, such kind of process. Let's say you want to prepare for the civil services exam itself, it's a very long process. It's about minimum of 2 to 3 years. So you cannot sustain yourself for so many years by saying that I'll strictly away from everything, I'll only study. At least in my case, that did not work for me. I always had a very balanced approach. I mean, I would study and then my weekends, my Saturday evenings were completely off. no matter what, I will make sure that I get time for myself. I spend time with family. I talk to, good friends, get the support that you need. Trust me, emotional support is a very important thing in your journey, in your career. So your personal life and your professional life are, I think, interlinked. It's not like isolated components, but they're intertwined. So make sure you get that kind of emotional support at home, from family, from friends, etc. Another key thing that you should keep in mind in your own preparation process or in your day-to-day academics is have a routine for your own fitness. So this will help you in mental and physical fitness. At this point, at this age, in your early 20s, it may seem like this is ridiculous, I don't need fitness and all, but trust me, this is when it matters the most, because you will, trust me, feel more energized, more active in your everyday process, in your routine, everyday routine. And over a long term also, it's going to be very, very helpful to you, to improve your overall health. So these are some few generic things that I would say that will keep your motivation levels very high as you keep going forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your valuable part.
So I think we have a little time, so I'll quickly wrap up the few points that I had. So I think I made most of the points that I wanted to say, but some few things that I'd like to address is, while making a transition, how did I make a choice or make a decision? Like I said, when you make a transition, it's very important to have a backup. Trust me, otherwise the process is going to be, there might be too much of pressure on what if the transition that you make doesn't work. So make sure you have a backup. Let's say you're preparing for your masters, like ma'am just said, there may be a tendency that you don't accept your job offer because you feel it is not good enough. I mean, the job offer is nobody or anybody to judge you. You're doing it for your own experience. Look at it in that sense. Always have an independent backup option for you when you make transition moves. And then I'll quickly talk about a few social norms, because I understand that we all live in a society and we're battling various stereotypical notions, and yet we keep trying to do what we try to do. So maybe something different that I did, or that happened to me, was one thing certainly, or most of it, the credit for this I would give to my parents and my family for creating that sort of an environment where I had this enabling platform that I could pursue my career until whatever I wanted to achieve. So first thing is, my mom always told me, no matter who you are, always have an independent career of your own. I mean, this is irrespective of which family you're born into, who do you marry, whatever. As a woman or as any person, it is utmost essential that you have a career of your own independently. So always keep this in your mind, that no matter where you go, you should be able to have your independent finances, independent decision making, etc. That is one thing that kept driving me throughout. And the second thing, of course, is, let's say, about marriage. It is, again, here I think I'd give the credit to my own parents, that they did not put any sort of pressure on me to hurry up with marriage, or say that you're 25. I remember when I was 25, I could not clear the main stage of the UPSC exam, and I knew there were talks about this coming up and all of that. I always knew that even if I were married, I would still pursue my own career and all of that, but I'm sure it would have made it far more challenging than how it was. So my parents in that sense were very, very supportive, and they said, you can take your time and you can attempt another time, or how many ever times you want, until you feel you are done with it. So I think this kind of thought process is much needed, and this message should go out all to the parents out there. And it is very much necessary to create that enabling environment for young girls, and give them that space to exercise a choice of career that they'd like to pursue, and give them that time. And yeah, I think that I think I have used up my time, so I'll still hang on here. So over to you, Manaswini.
Thank you so much, Pavitra. You have a lot of experiences, how you shifted your career from one path to one path, and still you managed your time and everything. So thanks for that, telling your experiences. I hope our students got a lot of insights through this, and they can use that in your career too. Thank you so much, Pavitra.
I hope so too. Thank you, Manaswini. And if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Yes, students, if you have any more questions, you can just mention in the chat box. Later on, Pavitra will be addressing those questions. Oh, okay. Now I would like to invite Bhargavi, our next guest of honor, Bhargavi. So Bhargavi has more than 25 years of experience in developing high availability systems. She has currently heads assist servicing technology in India and leads engineering of data and analytics globally. In her previous role at the bank, she led the corporate technology group. Bhargavi has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from JNTU College of Engineering and a master's degree in electrical engineering from Texas A&M University, and is currently pursuing her PhD in computer science from Jawaharlal Nehru Technology University. Before joining BNY Mellon, Bhargavi has the vice president and the head of technology at American Express. She had led senior technology leadership roles at major global product development organizations such as Amazon, Microsoft, MCI, WorldCom, and Texas Instruments. She has led technology transformation at her companies, focusing on innovation, automation, digitalization, and also infrastructure improvements. She also led various initiatives to hire and develop high performing tech talent in the bank. She revitalized strategic talent initiatives while adopting new AIDS talent development and feedback tools like Peacon.
I think we should stop it. It's going too long.
Okay. All right. So before Bhargavi starts, I should tell all the students that Bhargavi is not only a role model for students, but she is a role model to so many corporate women who have entered their career in late 90s or 2000s. Nobody was able to move into such roles that Bhargavi has played. She has played a key role in such iconic organizations in senior positions in CXO roles. So to me also, she's a role model, and I would suggest please listen to Bhargavi, because many of you will be taking the route that Bhargavi has taken to get into topmost positions in the corporate. Over to you, Bhargavi.
Thank you. It's when the marketing is bad is when someone oversells someone and that person has to meet up to that expectations. So that's why I was trying to cut short when the discussion was going on too far. So let me just start by saying, if you see on my wall, that's my daughter-in-law's pictures. So my young son got married 1 year back, and I was celebrating her homecoming because my son went back to Seattle and she's still waiting on her visa. So that's why you see the pictures in the backdrop. That just also gives you my age in some ways. So I have 29 years of industry experience, and I was listening to my previous speaker, the IRS officer, Pavitra, I think is her name, and was feeling very overwhelmed with her accomplishments at such a young age. I could resonate with quite a few things that she was talking about. I think in summary, some of the things that she called out, I want to start by saying they apply to me as well. One is that you should have focus about whatever you're trying to do, and always have plan B so that you're not overly pressurized about what else you want to do, and have a career of your own. So let me begin by saying, especially being a women leader, and in various companies, including Microsoft, Amazon, Amex, BNY Mellon, everywhere I have led diversity, equity, and inclusion because of being a woman leader and also finding it my responsibility. So I feel the most important thing is to stick around and not leave the chair. By that, what I mean is people, especially women, wear job as an accessory. And the minute you do that, the first trouble that comes into your life, you'll feel like, let me quit. Because there's someone else to take care of it. Someone else is given the responsibility to do some of the other parts of raising money for the family or raising, something else. So never see that in that spirit, because I feel like each of you, who I believe are engineering college students, have a responsibility towards the society we are creating. If 50% of the world population chooses work as an accessory, then we will never have a equivalent representation in workforce. And also, by you investing in career, you're creating a future generation which does not feel entitled that a woman is always available for the upbringing of the child. So this stereotype has to change at some point, and don't see it as just your personal convenience, but also your societal responsibility, largely speaking. Second thing, women, you must have heard multiple times in various reports, are known to be creative. Again, not saying that that's a stereotype. I'm definitely not very creative. But there are certain characteristics, and again, okay, let me step back one more time. When you think of a human being, we talk about Shiva and Shakti, that every one of us has the male component and the female component. And each of us exert certain characteristics more and certain characteristics less. So it's not like when I say woman has these characteristics, I'm not talking about women gender. I'm talking about when you are demonstrating the women in you, these are the traits that are equated to women. Empathy is another one. Now think about it. If a leader, forget the gender for a minute, if the leader is not empathetic, what is the impact on society? The employee who is working with this person, or the person with whom he is interacting or she is interacting, will go stressed back home. And that stress gets carried out to the rest of the family and the ecosystem. So the empathy is so essential in today's world. And I'll tell you very simple examples of where you get to demonstrate empathy. A lot of times, lack of empathy is not a virtue of you just don't have a mindset for that. It's because you are hurried for time. So a simple scenario, I went to, by the way, I recently changed jobs. I'm now in Ernst & Young. I forgot to update my LinkedIn profile. So it's still pending. I'm now a partner, principal partner in EY, working in financial services, technology consulting. So being in this role now, I have way too much travel. Every week, I'm almost traveling 3 to 4 days in the week. So who do I interact with? A lot of times, at least an hour goes in travel from airport to wherever I'm trying to go to. So I end up talking to the drivers. So there was this Tamilian driver that I was interacting in Bombay with, and I was asking him, did you have your, why did you choose to come to Mumbai? Because Tamilians tend to love their language, and it's so much of a culture shift that they have to speak Hindi and whatnot. And I was asking him which part of Tamil Nadu he's from, because in my previous role, I had a big team in Chennai. So I used to travel to Chennai quite often. And as a result, visited a lot of temples there. So he was telling me that he's from Tiruvannamalai, where the Arunachala Shiva temple is there. So I was saying, are you not missing? Are you not planning on going back? And then he told me he had 2 kids, and one of them is actually preparing for UPSC exams. And he said in another 2 years he would be leaving, because both of them would have finished their curriculum, whatever they were trying to do, the kids, and then he would be going back. And so I was telling him, as soon as I got dropped off, I told him, I will be coming back from my meetings only at a certain hour. So if your home is nearby, you can go home. It's okay. And then you can come back and I'll call you. I'll give you enough notice. So after that whole conversation got over, when I was going back to the airport, this man tells me, "Madam, you're such a nice person. I interact daily with so many men and women. And you are very kind." I said, what about it? Like, why did you come to that conclusion? He said, nobody cares about what my family is doing. And nobody tells me how much time I should wait at what place. You really cared that I should have my time whenever I can. And you cared that I had my meal or not. So he was talking about a few things. And then I was realizing that that's like the mother in me, right? Every mother wants to make sure people are fed, right? People are given nutrition at proper times. So my usual tendency, whether I'm in a meeting, whether I meet a driver or not, I ask them, did you have your breakfast? Did you have your lunch? So this is my natural self, right? But for him, like, he might be interacting more with male leaders because you have more senior people at senior positions. Like, just as a reference, when I went for the CIO conclave organized by Economic Times a few years back, I was the only women CIO amongst the 100 CIOs odd that came across the India. So, when so few leaders exist that are sitting in the positions, likely the empathy factor he might not have noticed as much. But by the way, I got my own motivation from him. I was asking him, when do you plan to retire? He said, Madam, my work isn't that difficult. I sit most of the time, I'm waiting for somebody. Think about the laborers here. They work for a lot more hours, and it's more physically exhausting. So I believe I'll work as long as my body cooperates. So I said, but still you should have a number in your mind. He said, I'll probably work till 65. So I I was thinking, when should I retire? And then I got motivation from him that, I shouldn't be thinking about retirement anytime in the near future, because I physically exert much less of my body when I'm doing my day job. So anyway, going back to this point, right? Do not think of going out of workforce. This is my humble plea to all of you. Feel that sense of responsibility that you have towards the society we are creating for ourselves and for our children. So make sure that you do that. I think another thing that Pavitra called out, it's always great to come after a good speaker, because then you can pick the nuggets and you can reassert those nuggets. One of the things she said is building a cohort of people that you can rely upon, that you can share your emotional burden with. That's very, very important. You should have a few people, whoever that is. In Telugu, there was a movie long back called Naluguru. When you grow to my age, you will realize that at the end of the life, there will be only a handful of people that you can truly trust. So build those deep, meaningful relationships with a handful of people and have it diversified enough. Because if you have only one kind of people, they will always give you one kind of feedback. So think of it as creating your own board of directors. Do you have a diverse board of directors that will give you diverse inputs? If all I rely is on my own family, they'll only have one perspective. If I have my engineering friends, they give another perspective. If I have my women friends who are having complete home life, they'll give me a different perspective. If I have people, the aunts and uncles who are retired, who are ready to kind of knock off from this world, they'll have a different perspective. If I have young kids who are bubbling with life, they have a different perspective. So create a cohort of diverse personal board of directors who will give you right kind of advice and be there for you when you need. Because you will have, I guarantee, all of us will have that kabhi gum wala moment where you will have those struggles in life. So you need somebody to really pump you up and show your strengths to you, because you know you have them, but in that moment of despair, you forget them. So you need those people to come back and say, hey, no, you are the best, you can do it. So that's the second thing. Then the third thing, which is about learning. You must be reading about artificial intelligence. Some of you, I'm sure, have been using ChatGPT. Technology is becoming way too pervasive and is going to keep accelerating. I mean, you'll keep hearing from people that AI, you've been hearing this buzzword for some time, none of our jobs will go away. Maybe they will change to a different version of truth, of whatever that is. So continual learning is very, very important. I think Java is the only language that has survived for so many years. Most other languages kept coming in and going out. Not just programming language, any skill for that matter, it is important to have that continuous learning and continuous curiosity. When it comes to learning, there was this article that came, it was published as a research study about luck. So, when people think about who has been successful, there are two factors, right? One is what you have, your talents. And second is people call it luck. So what is luck, right? So they did research on what is luck. And where do you think luck comes into picture? Most of the times you see so many startups coming, only a handful of them go to being unicorns or even more financially successful. So failure rate is much higher. So this California research was about talking to all the entrepreneurs and understanding what were the factors that contributed to luck in their journeys. And this lady codified that by saying that when you take risk, then you start building that luck. But risk is not unidimensional. There could be financial risk, there could be social risk, there could be emotional risk, there could be intellectual risk, and varieties of those risks. And when you do physical risk, when you do one of them, it gives you confidence to exercise the other risk. So as an example, if you go into an elevator, two kids within no time become best of the friends by the time they come out of elevator. How often as an adult have you chosen to become emotionally, socially vulnerable enough to talk to a stranger, introduce yourself, give that elevator pitch and ask about them and try to say, hey, just developing those relationships, right? So this is something that's good to build, because you never know who's going to come back in your life and when you will need that help. By the way, just by the virtue of the companies that I have worked, and so far I haven't ever gone back to the same company, not because I didn't love them. I loved all of them and they came back with much better offers after I left. But just that something else triggered my enthusiasm and curiosity, so I moved on to something else. But this is the first time in my EY role that I'm having to interact with people that I have worked with in the past in a professional capacity. And when I was leading as a CIO, I was vendor repellent, which meant I didn't like interacting with vendors. And I always delegated the responsibility to one of my directs. And I guarded my time very preciously. And I believed in a strong FTE, full-time employee or colleague culture. So now sitting on the other side and going and talking to these people, I'm realizing that I might have pissed off some of those people when they were working with me. And now I'm having to befriend them again. So I have learned humility to the next highest level in this journey of 2 months with EY. So the reason I mentioned that is, again, try to build lasting friendships. And it is like it's like a plant. Any relationship is a plant. It consumes energy. So you need to nurture it. You need to invest in it. So you need to know why you're choosing to invest in certain relationships more or less. I think, again, what Pavitra called out, I guard my weekends. I make sure I'm spending time with family. It's good both because you're kind of detoxing yourself, or you are energizing yourself, but you're also investing in the people that matter to you, so you don't, when you need them, they're always there. So it's kind of works in multiple ways, right? So the weekends, I basically, when I'm off my laptop, I'm not checking my mails. By the way, on that note, there is a wonderful article you should read. It is by Harvard Business Review. Manage your energy and not your time. So what that article talks about is we all have 24 hours in a day, but how come some people are far more productive than the others? And so on that same notion, what are the 4 energy wells that you need to optimize, which is body, mind, emotions, and spirit? And like Pavitra said, body care, taking care of your fitness regime, that's important, because that helps you stay focused when you're trying to focus on it. And India started meditation. Unfortunately, not everybody uses that wisdom to practice meditation. So learn to sit in silence and practice meditation. There's so much inner strength that we can all tap into. If there's one thing that I want you to remember at the end of my session, if you forget everything else, is just sit in silence, close your eyes, learn to calm your muscles. And start with 5 minutes, and you can start increasing it. You don't need any guru, nobody. Just close your eyes so you can focus your senses inward and focus on your third eye. Breathe in, breathe out. You don't have to be Hindu, you don't have to be any religion to meditate. So mind management, mind and body have such strong correlation that unless you can do mind management, you can't survive for too long in this world, whether you are a homemaker or a professional. So going back to the factors of luck, like I said, during the pandemic, I learned how to ride a bicycle. I never knew how to ride a bicycle before. And, at my age, most people will say, hey, what if you fall? You don't want to break bones. But I did that, and that gave me confidence that I can do this at this age. So if you do one risk, one physical risk or one financial risk or one intellectual risk, you're learning something brand new. Now, Pavitra has proven to herself that I can do IIT, I can do IIM, I can do IRS. I'm sure she can do something else. She can become an entrepreneur. I've seen some, UPSC people, after a few years, they quit and they become entrepreneurs. That risk taking comes when you diversify yourself. So that's very, very important. So not that I don't have loyalty towards my previous companies, but when I have moved because I wanted to try something different. And that's how, going back to initial question of how do you become unstoppable, is how you create your brand equity in such a manner that you are unstoppable. But basically, if you look at my career, I have done product companies. I have done semiconductors. I have done telecom. I have done banking sector, and now I'm into consulting world. And I've really diversified quite a bit. I was a developer to begin with. I was a designer architect. I was a program manager. And, you name it. I started my career as a software tester while I was still doing my master's. So that diversification gives you a sense of confidence. And I'm guaranteeing you a few years down the lane, I'll do my own entrepreneurship stint. And like I said, I don't think I'm ever too old to do anything. So I don't know what it is going to be. Haven't decided yet, but I'm sure I'll let you know. So these are all important facets of luck. Last but not the least, when you think of what you want to be 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I'll share one more story. I tried to sit down for vision setting when I read Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma, I think around 2005 timeframe. And nothing would come into my head. No stroke of vision, no lightning, nothing. I remember next day I went to meet my boss at that time, Dilip Jha. And I asked him, Dilip, am I this clueless? I don't understand how I can't get anything. I don't have any vision. And then he told me, Bhargavi, when you go in the night and you take a torchlight, you can only see that far. But that doesn't mean when you reach that point, light will end. You will get some more wisdom or some more light. So you can see some more. As long as your directionally right, you're enjoying what you're doing, and you are doing all those things, you don't need to worry. Things will come in place. Many years later, when I was working in Amex, I did that visioning exercise again. And this time I could see the vision of being a global CIO of a Fortune 100 company, which became true after the fact. So the only thing I want to say is that vision comes and vision changes. My vision was global CIO at that time. Now my vision is to be an entrepreneur at some point in future. Things keep coming and going. That's okay. But most important thing is to enjoy that journey, because I don't think there is a destination that you will feel like I have arrived now. Um, you know, Oprah Winfrey, she thought she was born to be a, the talk show host. And very many years later, she realized her life's purpose was different. Her life's purpose is to evoke spirituality in people. This is her own words. I'm not saying it. So it's okay to have that, but as long as you are enjoying the journey, I think you'll do great. Again, to summarize, focus on optimizing your energy, have a clear sense of purpose, but also become financially independent. I've seen a lot of kids who go after these big dreams, but they don't want to own or have accountability for their own finances. They want to be feeding in on their parents' money forever or whatever, and then start dreaming. That doesn't work. Take accountability for your life and then dream big, whatever you want to dream big. And also make sure, take your sense of responsibility. Lastly, identify your strengths, whatever it is. We all have our own unique strengths. Like I sat down a few years back and thought through what are my biggest strengths. So I'm really analytical, very strong. I have very strong bias for action. I'm good with people. So as long as your job can marry to 70 to 80% of your strengths, you will really excel in it. So try to do that, but you will not know whether you're strong at it or not unless you experiment. In Germany, they do internship at the age of 10 years. Unfortunately, we don't have that practice. So try your hands before you decide, I'm not going to be a good developer, I don't like coding, or whatever, right? It's okay to fit in before you choose to stand out. So that's kind of what I wanted to leave you guys with.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bhargavi. So we have certain questions from the students, both to Pavitra and Bhargavi. We'll be taking it by the end of this session. Bhargavi and Pavitra will be taking these questions and answering the students. So Manaswini, would you want to?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So I think this question is for Bhargavi, ma'am. So as you're from electronic background, did you face any difficulty or problem when you shift to coding?
Oh, so basically, I did electrical engineering, electrical and electronics. That was my undergrad. So at that time itself, actually one of the subjects I really loved was circuits. And in that I was doing, assembly programming. But after that, in my master's, I did computer engineering. Although the degree came from EE department, because my master's professor was from that, but it was in networking and databases. So I did a lot of coding during the master's program, like mostly in C++ and all. But let me tell you this, every Indian is equipped to code. Why? Because our languages are structured programming language. Like our languages are built on a structure, on a set of foundations. And most of us are conversant with at least 2 to 3 languages. So we can see the patterns. So I believe if we apply ourselves, we are natural developers, natural coders.
Thank you, Bhargavi, ma'am, for addressing that question. So I would like to invite Anuradha, ma'am, our CEO of Blackbucks, to speak about a few things.
All right. Hi, students. Many of you have taken this hackathon, and I am sure all the students who are today are the students who are expecting to be in the top category, who are where we said we'll be announcing certain results today. So before that, our team also has asked me to tell a few things about my journey. I was a similar journey, started as an engineer, but what has happened is I have taken hard decisions multiple times it is a little bit different as what Pavitra has mentioned. I belong to a different generation totally. So I was married around 18. And after that, I have completed my graduation. Then I completed my post-graduation and I entered into, after my graduation, I got into a bank. My analytical skills were really very good. So I got into bank, into railways, into staff selection, into so many things. But I entered into bank at the same time I've completed my master's. I moved into computer science. I moved into Satyam first, and then Wipro, and then Microsoft. And during this Wipro and Microsoft, I had very good exposure to global delivery. So I was working from San Jose, from US, and I also worked from UK. So around 10 years, I worked from outside India. Then I took, then again, it was a hard decision. I took a break. I did MBA from ISB. ISB is, when I did, it was world number 11. And I did my MBA from ISB. Post ISB, I worked as a CEO for a mid-sized organization. After that, again, it was a hard decision. In 2013, I took a decision to start my own organization, which is Blackbucks Engineers Private Limited. So as both the speakers have mentioned, you really need to reinvent yourself at various stops. You have to reinvent yourself every few years. You have to see where you stand today and where you want to go ahead. As Bhargavi has mentioned, she had a vision of CIO, becoming a CIO. Once she is a CIO, she has again a vision of becoming an entrepreneur. So these, you have to look back on your abilities, on your skills, keep reinventing yourself, keep reinventing your new future, your new world at so many steps. Here I would like to mention, because, especially from past 10 years, I've been working with students. I know students in and out more than the students themselves. So there are certain things, like one thing I wanted to mention in this talk is your decisions at every step. In that, I would like to mention about two of my friends. One friend whose name is Sudhakar Reddy. Sudhakar has completed his bachelor's along with me. He was as bright and he was competitive. He was always competing with me in the class. Sudhakar has decided to start off his career immediately after bachelor's, and he went to Rajahmundry. He has taken up the role of a manager in a 5-star hotel. Today, Sudhakar still earns rupees 30,000 per month. He feels limited. If he is happy, then everybody is happy. But he feels limited in his role. He would have done much better. So decision taking at every step is very important. There is another friend of mine whose name is Padma. And Padma, soon after her graduation, she didn't have any job. But her father gifted her with a bike, with a scooty. She was gifted with a scooty. And she didn't have a job at that time. So what she has done is she sold next day, the very next day, she sold off the scooter and she joined in, there was something called, just like now you have something called Salesforce or AWS, cloud technology, something like that. There was something called CBeyond where everybody was saying, you learn CBeyond, you get a job. So she sold the scooter next day. She paid the fee for CBeyond, learning CBeyond. She learned CBeyond. She got into Wipro. And after that, she moved to UK. From past 20 years, she is still in UK. She has gone to really, really very high positions in corporate. She is a citizen of UK now and has been very, very successful. So another point that I want to discuss is not only that your decisions, your investments. As women, investment in self comes secondary. Now, as Bhargavi has mentioned, there will be so many responsibilities that you will take, you have or you will take, and job or career is only secondary to most of the women. In that case, it is very difficult to get it to become unstoppable, as this webinar says. It is very difficult to become unstoppable if your career is very secondary and only adjusting. No, that's how these two people have remained in my minds on how the journey will be when you take right decisions versus the wrong decisions. Investing in yourself is very, very important. Just think very carefully on your every step. Think very carefully on what for your role. Most of the questions, though speakers speak at very high level, most of the questions are about your next job. Will I be able to get my job? Will I be able to know or learn coding and crack a job? So these are the questions that I am seeing in the chat box. So for you, if you know, you have to know. The first step is you have to know what are needed for what you want. You want a job, so what is that it is needed? So as you know, one thing is your coding, but what are the other things that you need? You have to be in the place where there are jobs. There is one question. The police has caught a thief and asked him, you've been robbing all the banks. Why is it only banks are your targets? He said that's where the money is. So you have to understand where your prospects are, where your opportunities are. Second step is what is that is needed from you or for you to learn to get into those roles. These two things are very, very important. Where are these opportunities? Be there. Second thing is what is that it is needed for you to crack those opportunities. Learn that. It is just matter of tick box. Okay, I need this. Okay, I got this. Need this, got this. Need this, got this. Okay. So this is where my, where I told you I was working as a CEO for another organization. When I was working as a CEO for this organization, mid-size organization, before that Microsoft and Wipro, I used to get stars working for me. But when I joined this organization, and I used to get a lot of people walking in for interviews. And when I spoke to these people, I really found out that people cannot speak few lines continuously. People cannot write few lines of code. That's what I saw. Hundreds of people who walked in, I saw these people cannot speak or cannot write a single line of code when they are aspiring for a coding job. So what I have, when I resigned to this as a CEO and started my organization, that's where I thought I should bridge the gap, especially for tier 2 and tier 3 students, tier 3 city students. They do not have an understanding about what is required for them to get into a job. As I said, first is only 2 points I said. Where are the opportunities? Be there. And second thing is, what do you need to crack those opportunities? So with that, I have started Blackbuck Engineers Private Limited. We are now 10 years old. And one of our product is called TapTap, which you have taken the test. TapTap, probably you just have taken the test, but it has many other functions. You can get certifications. There are jobs posted on it. With one single click, you can apply for those jobs. And with one single click, HRs will recruit people. If you have written, say, 6 tests or 7 tests, there is an average of all your work. And if you have written 6, 7 tests, HRs will hire you without a test, without their test. I've created such a platform so that I'll be able to help all these kind of students who I have interacted with were really horrible. I'm sure all the people over here today might be so good because you are waiting for the results. You have given a coding hackathon test and you are waiting for the results. So I'm sure you all must be doing good. Especially because you are good students, I would like to mention, do not forego the opportunity. So for all of us, that first step is very important. Don't lose that opportunity. That first step should happen from the college. Once you are outside the college, it is really very difficult. There's no support. Where do you find the jobs? In the college, people come to the job, and also companies value people when they value the fresh talent only when you are in college. Outside the college, they do not really want to tap that potential. So use this time very well. All the achievers, all the unstoppables, or for that matter, whoever has settled in a job have taken that first step very, very carefully. So this first step is very important to become unstoppable. And after that, if you have that fire like Pavitra or Bhargavi or any other unstoppable, if you have the fire, as I said, at various stages, you will look back and see, okay, this is where I am, but this is what I want to become, or I can become this. So let me take the next step. For that also, at every step, you have to see where you want to be and where are these opportunities. How do you crack these opportunities? These are the 2 points that you will have to remember. Okay, so this, if you are all people who are aspirational, you keep writing the tests in TapTap, and as people will just pick you. Many startups for your internships or many companies, big companies will just pick you from here if you keep writing your exams. So that's the, as Bhargavi has mentioned, that's my contribution to the society. I wanted to do this to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and that's how, as Bhargavi has mentioned, I have a lot of empathy towards people coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I connect with them because I got married at 18, though I am from Hyderabad. For many of them, doors are closed, just like tier 2, tier 3 cities. When you get married, doors are closed is what people think. But I moved forward, and I also think all these people who they think the doors are closed should move forward. And that's why TapTap exists. And I really love that many of you students make a great career through TapTap. Will give me immense satisfaction when you do that. Okay, thank you very much for listening to me. And over to the questions. Manaswini, can you take the questions from the students to Bhargavi and Pavitra?
I was able to read a couple of questions, I think, that were targeted at me. So if it's okay, I'll just go ahead and answer that. And then I'll pass it on to Pavitra if she has an input as well.
Yes, Bhargavi.
So one of the questions was about how did you deal with if somebody told you you're a woman, it's okay, your income is secondary, you don't need to work, was one of the questions. And there was another question about how did you learn when you moved on from one team to another, like as an example she quoted was banking. So let me address both of them. First of all, I had that moment of wanting to quit job. When did I have it? When my second son, actually, this was when I was in US. My second son was born and he was 7 months old, and he was a very happy-go-lucky kind of child. And my office, Texas Instruments, was 1 lane away from my daycare, for my son's daycare. And he usually would be not sad or anything. But that day, when I went during the lunchtime, I saw him lying flat in the crib and he was crying. And I checked to see if his diaper was wet. It wasn't. If he needed food, it wasn't. All he needed was a hug. That was like crazy for me, because the minute I gave him a hug, he was just fine. And he was barely 7 months old at that time. So I was thinking, why am I doing this? I should quit. I should look at some other option. There was a lady who was helpful. She told me she'll find somebody because in that daycare, first half of the day she was there, second half she wasn't there. So she helped me by trying to connect with someone else. But in this scenario, the reason I was quoting this scenario was that I really didn't have a choice of not working. My parents, the village they come from, our village got submerged under water in Teluganga project. So as a result, my dad's ability to make money ended very early on. And while my husband was nice, he was not willing to invest in my mother's side of the family. So I had to work to be able to support my parents and help my sister get married. So that's why job was never an accessory for me. But the reason I bring it up is, but when I had to work, I found options open to me to cope with the work-related stress. If I didn't have to work, maybe I would have quit as well and tried hard to get back to workforce. So the reason I shared that example is, by the way, and one more thing, at this point in my career, I have grown really higher up in ladders. I make a lot of money and very well known in industry. But the person who wants me to slow down is my mother. She wanted me to work, but she now wants me to slow down and not do as much because she wants me to have more time for my family and not do as much charity as I do, varieties of other things. So sometimes the people that want to slow you down are the people you love the most. So it's not like an outsider. It's not my husband telling me that you should slow down. It's actually my mother who is telling me to slow down. So there will be people that will tell you it's okay, don't run so fast, out of best of the intentions, right? But it's your journey to make. It's your choices to make. And if you want to do it, you will always find coping mechanisms that are available to you. Then coming back to how did I learn and adapt when I moved around? The most important thing is intellectual humility. Whenever you go into a new team, there is this book that got published called 30, 60, 90. You can all look it up. It talks about first 30 days, what you should be doing, first 60 days, what you should be doing, first 90 days, what you should be doing. I didn't read that book in entirety. But one of the things you should not do in the first 30 days is to advocate how great you are. You should focus more on listening to what else can you pick up. Now, if you think about just today's conversation, Pavitra, however well accomplished she is much more younger than me. I could have just not paid attention to what she was talking. But this is important to understand what is the words of wisdom that I can listen to and get from any conversation. When I talked to that driver, I was trying to understand how much farther can I run. So look for that humility and you ask a lot of curiosity-based questions, read a lot, pair up with the right people. In Sanskrit, we say satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, right? So, you make right friends where you can improve your knowledge and you can build the right kind of awareness in addition to reading a lot of books. I read a lot of books. So those were my two questions that I answered. Anything? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bhargavi ma'am. Thank you so much for your insights. So I would like to address, like, Pavitra ma'am have few questions. So one is like, what is your motivation for UPSC? Well-paying job was powerful job.
Sure, thanks, Manaswini. So this question, I think, to be honest, in some context, I did answer it. But the parameters on which I weighed this, career choice was, to be honest, it's not a very, it's not about being a powerful job. It's about, for me, in my lens, it was about the impact that, I could possibly create. Let's say 30 years or 35 years in the corporate sector versus 35 years in, the public service. I was trying to weigh my options on what was the kind of, meaningful impact that I can create on the society. And certainly I found that, I would probably be able to create more impact and, be a part of India's growth story. These were the kind of things that I was considering, while making a choice between a career in the corporate sector versus that in the public sector. So also, I mean, because the UPSC thing has come up and I have seen there were some questions asking me about, my preparation process, my journey. Maybe I'll take a few minutes to elaborate on that. I thought this is mostly about engineering, young engineering students, or not thinking about UPSC right now. So I didn't invest much time. But let me quickly tell you a little bit about my own journey. So I know Manaswini has given an overview. I had done my engineering at IIT Hyderabad. And then immediately after my 4th year at engineering itself, I went to IIM Bangalore to do my management. After that, I took a break because I was seriously considering appearing for the UPSC during my engineering days itself. But like I said, given that it's a very uncertain career choice, I mean, getting into this service is very uncertain. I decided to have a mainstream backup option and I did my MBA. After that, I realized that working and preparing for this exam would be a challenge. So I took off completely for about a year or year and a half, or slightly more than that, so that I could prepare on my own for this exam. That's when I took coaching, I attended classes, and made my notes, etc. So I do this for 1 full year, and then when I give the first stage of the exam, the preliminary stage of UPSC, I couldn't clear it. I failed at the preliminary examination. So, to be honest, in one sense, the UPSC exam makes you very humble as well, because until then, touch wood, but there was no break in my career. So IIT, I got in my first attempt, similar with MBA, but then UPSC, the first stage itself, I was out of the whole process. That meant for 1 year, I had nothing to do. So that was the kind of, uncertainty that I had to cope with. And that eventually actually led me, to my future career choices. When I realized that this could be dicey, this could be uncertain, I had an option to go back and sit for campus placements, because when I took the break with the decision, informed decision that I will come back and sit for campus placements within the subsequent 2 years. So I decided that given the uncertainty that is there, I will sit for placements and start working, because I had done my preparation on my own, full time for more than a year. That gave me some solid, foundation on which I could fall upon. And then I started working. I was working with Capgemini, and then it was, another kind of a challenge. On one level, it was a good thing because I had my own, career sorted. There was some mainstream job that I was doing, so it was not like I had to be worried about where my career is going. Am I even going to, make it or not? That kind of pressure was not there. But the only pressure that I had was to tackle and manage both my job and the preparation process. So that's when, I try to devise multiple strategies or methodologies to, balance my time and prepare for this exam. I know one of the, members asked me a question: can you tell me 3 things? So these are questions I actually like, and this is how management students ask things. Tell me 3 things that you followed. So I'll probably tell you a few things. Number one, first thing is, when you're working and you prepare and you're trying to prepare for another exam, always have a very clear and sorted timetable. And when I say timetable, it's not about 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month. I had a timetable for 8 months. Around 8 to 9 months, I knew what I was going to study for the next few days. That is the kind of planning and strategy that you need to come up with, when you're trying to aim at huge things. I mean, it may seem like, oh, that's impossible. How can you have a plan for 8 months? But trust me, when you understand the exam process, when you know the syllabus, and you know what is the amount of time you can allocate from your end to prepare for this exam, you can come up with such a strategy. So what I would do is, let's say my work hour is between 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Not even once, or even for 5 minutes in that 9 to 7 p.m., I thought of the UPSC exam. All I did was post 7 p.m., let's say 8 p.m. to 12 midnight was the time when, I would allocate to prepare for the exam. And an hour or a couple of hours before 9 a.m. in the morning that I would want to invest. And again, weekends plan out in such a way that you give some time for yourself and also spend maximum amount possible in your preparation, because that's when you get most free time to prepare for the exam. So that is one thing you can sort out, by having a proper fixed timetable. And apart from that, like I said, always have focus on your own health, your own fitness, and keep in mind the goal or the reason why you have started this journey, and that will keep you going. So that is something I wanted to say about my UPSC journey, and a few tips on how you can manage both your job and preparation process. Any other questions, Manasini, that you'd like me to answer?
Thank you so much, Pavitra. These are the questions that our students have. Thank you so much for your clarifying their doubts regarding the UPSC and all. So now I would like to announce Blackbucks Women's Day Coding Challenge toppers across the states that is conducted from the past 1 week. So the first place goes to Jeevani from Mallareddy Engineering College. And also the second prize goes to Anjusri Tota from IARE Engineering College. And the third prize goes to Ashmita Tota from IARE. And fourth place goes to Abhignya from IARE. And the fifth place goes to Durga Devi from Usha Rama College. And sixth prize goes to IARE College, Nehanjali. And the seventh place goes to Komali Lakshmi from SRKR College. And the eighth place goes to Tarunya from G. Narayanamma Institute of Technology. And eighth place goes to Jayasri from GITS. And 10th place goes to Ishita from G. Narayanamma Institute of Technology.
Ninth, I think. Ninth place.
No, I mentioned all the places.
Did you mention ninth place?
Yes, ma'am. Jayasri. Jayasri from GITS.
Oh, okay, fine. Congratulations to all the winners. That you have to know that around 5,000 students have written the test from across, mostly I think from AP and Telangana. Few are from Tamil Nadu and few from other states. But there are 5,000 students women who have written the test. Congratulations to the top 10. And when I am hearing these names of the students, second and third are both Tota. There is no rigging done. My name is Anuradha Tota, but there is no rigging done. Congratulations to all the 10 students. I'm sure you'll be excelling in further all the hackathons that are going to come. I would like to tell all these students and other students who are waiting on this session, please continue participating in these competitions, gaining certifications, make a very beautiful profile of yourselves and become unstoppable. Okay, congratulations once again. Bhargavi and Pavitra, do you want to congratulate these students?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all the winners, all the very best. This reminds me of my own young days when I would participate in these coding challenges. So very lovely to hear that you've come across so far. And I'd also like to say a big thank you to Team Blackbucks. Firstly, for organizing such a challenge where so many participants could, learn so much. And also the kind of initiatives that I'm hearing about, Anuradha ma'am, when you said, you'd like to create that accessibility to students from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, that's really heart touching. And a big thank you, ma'am. I mean, to give me a platform, on share a platform with accomplished women like you and Bhargavi, ma'am. It feels an honor that I got a chance to speak alongside accomplished women like you. And thank you so much, and a very happy Women's Day to each and everyone here.
Thank you so much, Pavitra and Bhargavi.
Yeah, congratulations. Really good to see all the competitive spirit. And, Anu, this is amazing that, people, some of the colleges, I haven't even heard of the names. So the way they are taking these competitive exams and the platform that you have created is really amazing. So hearty congratulations. And I wish you guys all the very best. Happy Women's Day.
Thank you, both of you. Great listening to both of you. Great learnings to all the students. Please keep connecting to our students and give your valuable insights going forward. Your mentorship is of very high value. Your 1 hour is, one line sometimes will ignite fuel in students. So thank you, both of you. Thanks so much. Thanks, students. All the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, guys. So please be connected, fill the form, and we'll get back to you for further contests, and also good for your career. Fill the form. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.